Hi, I'm Don,
And I'm Luke.
and Bo is not here. Yeah, it's a stunning reversal.
Very, yeah.
In a game about stunning reversals, this is a stunning reversal. But we're going to put a bow on this because this is the last route we could possibly talk about, unless Abyss does something incredibly weird.
I mean, there's always a DLC possibility.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we did talk about like we should probably put this off until Saunas, but then we realize all these games coming out, and Bo has to play them all. So we're not going to get around to seeing the sauna. I'm lucky to have gotten a run in with Yuritsa. Of course, that just means I played Crimson Flower twice. So, yeah, we did. But this is a very special route for us because this was our first.
Yeah.
You always remember your first route in Fire Emblem. I guess. I don't know. We're going to put that to the test. I don't know how much I remember.
That's a lot of routes ago.
Yeah. I do know the base. I remember like the basic story. We're gonna mix and match some plot reveals because it all kind of blends together. You find out Saint Sethlene and Saint Keyhole, their whole deal, the minute Linhardt gets into a room with them, or the minute you're like, okay, they want flowers on the birthday of these saints.
Yeah, that was really nice for us to recruit Linhardt from the Black Eagles.
Yeah, he was a big win for us because we also got to see that turtle.
Yeah.
Who also helped out by calling Flane his niece, or she calls him uncle. No, he says like, "Oh, Flane, it's good to." He says, "Oh, Sethlene, it's good to see you again." And then she says, "Shut up, uncle."
And then I think Linhardt just like knew who he was. He was just like,
yeah, he's like, "Oh, I guess you could call him a saintly beast, technically." Then he falls asleep. Sees Linhardt. Anyway,
do we want to go through the characters and their backgrounds for the gold?
Sure. You know what? Why not? Why the hell not?
All right.
A lot of commoners in this house, actually. The Alliance, Breakaway, well, not really a republic. It's a council of nobles.
Yeah.
So it's a highly decentralized quagmire of nobles who broke away from Fargus and got away with it for some reason.
And I think the Gloucester actually came from the Empire.
Yeah, that there was another Ordelia. They were also
They
had Lysithea's house. We'll get into that later because there's a paralogue that actually involves that. We missed it in our run, but I found it in church, and presumably it's in Golden Deer. Anyway, let's start with Marianne.
Sure.
She's got blue hair.
She loves horses.
And she can talk to birds.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
That is a very unique power. Like Raphael tries to learn.
Oh, he does learn.
He does. I forgot he succeeds. Man, that's like in X-Men where I learned how to use ice powers too. Like, what? How did you do that? Bulked up.
I just use my imagination, really.
Yeah, I forgot that little. I completely forgot that. Yeah, that's good. But Marianne, she's a big downer of a character for the first time. For the first few supports.
Yeah.
Except for Lorenz, oddly enough.
She was still kind of a downer, but
she was
Lorenz...
a downer, but she gets sparkles.
Yeah.
Because he's just 100% charm from start to finish with her for some reason. Like he's got like that whole thing, like I'm going to take her glasses off, she's going to be prom queen. But the whole time she's got like, she's writing notes of apologies to God for existing.
Oh, yeah.
And like, okay, yeah, you're throwing off like all kinds of warning signals for self-harm here, Marianne.
Her crest kind of leads her to that pathway.
Yeah, it's a mystery crest. That's never good. Usually, if you've got a crest, you want people to know.
Yeah,
that's a good thing to have in this world. But she specifically, her adoptive father, because her parents went missing mysteriously. Her adoptive father, who is you kind of get the feeling that he's got the same deal as Bernadetta, but not to the extent.
Yeah.
But he's not really a nurturing figure, and he's clearly using her. But she doesn't really like have a hate relationship. She hates herself more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But he specifically asked Hanneman, do not look into her crest situation. And at first Hanneman thinks, okay, she doesn't have a crest. He doesn't want it known that a relative of his does not have a crest because that reflects poorly down the bloodline. But then Hanneman, being Hanneman, digs a little deeper.
To look into it.
And like, hey, you've got a crest. and Linhart just says, "Hey, you've got that mystery. I know exactly what your crest is, by the way." And she has the crest of the Beast, is what they call it. A guy named Maurice.
Yeah, really interesting story.
That really is, because you get the 10 elites and the Crest of Flames, who no one has. Then you've also got Saint Sethlene, Saint Keyhole, and Saros, and Endek, and Macwheel,
Yeah.
and a few others, I imagine. But I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's
And
just the...
yeah. But Maurice is one you just don't find out a whole lot about, and that's just interesting. She keeps saying, "I bring bad luck to all. I shouldn't exist." It's her. She just keeps saying that over and over again. No matter how many times you encourage her, she kind of reverts back to that. And then in part 2, you get the paralogue with her, which is actually really interesting.
Yes.
Because a Crest scholar who is not Hanneman or Linhart, which proves that, hey, Dad, I totally get a job in this field. Apparently, this guy has a travel fund, too, because he walks from Margrave territory to Garreg Mach to accuse Marianne of being a were creature, apparently.
Yes, apparently she's been inhabiting a forest and turning into a monster while she's been at Garreg Mach.
Yeah, we can fully account for her whereabouts for the last year, but she's the one eating the damn sheep in this other territory far, far away. And I love that you can't just say that, though. You no, I believe her when she says she's not eating chickens. I believe her. She talks to chickens. Like how you cannot prove she's not transforming into a demon and teleporting and causing a ruckus. So, of course, the only way to prove this is to go out there and confront the demon, which you'd think someone would have done by now, but whatever.
It's elusive unless you have the crest of the beast.
Oh, that's true. Because Marianne just shows up in a clearing and she's just having a chat with the local wildlife, which is normal for her.
Yeah.
But this wildlife is a talking demonic beast. Bear our crest. No, this is a very gentlemanly demon. Apparently, he hasn't had much company for the last few thousand years or whatever. So
I mean, it's a blood relative, so
yeah,
he's kind of
he's
friendly.
He withholds the slaughter for as long as he feels he's able to, which isn't that long. But it's important to recognize when someone's struggling and trying. Unfortunately, there's a bunch of other demonic beasts who are just kind of hanging out with him, and he's like, "Yeah, they're gonna eat you." That mission's a real pain on maddening, but it is doable if you just plan your way around it. But yeah, you beat this demonic beast up, and he's like, "Oh, finally, this curse of 1,000 years is over." And then he coughs up a magical sword that Marianne can use, and you go back to the monastery, and the crest scholar shows back up, like, have you found conclusive proof that it wasn't you? Yeah, we killed the demonic beast. Can you prove it's gone? Yes, I've got this sword. Oh. Okay. Apparently, Maurice never let this thing go, so that beast was indeed Maurice. So apparently, demonic beasts can just be however old, which says a lot of weird things.
Yes, it does.
They could just be like former soldiers from Nemesis's army.
It honestly kind of seems like the relic stones turn them into like dragons, and they become eternal like dragons.
Yeah. Don't know why. I don't know. I wonder what goes into who becomes who or what, because Edelgard apparently pull off something fucking amazing in the Blue Lions, not in any other route. But she's like that one random Resident Evil boss who actually answers the question of, okay, is turning yourself into a monster actually a good long-term plan? Like, why is that the first? Like that one guy in Resident Evil 5. I remember watching Cody play it, and this one guy gets like, you catch up to him, and his immediate decision is to turn himself into a slug monster. Like, dude, you're not going to be able to handle your industries like this. Like, what's your plan here? But apparently Edelgard's just completely in control of her faculties as a demonic beast, and
she is a little crazy, but
okay,
she can still like talk, I think.
Yeah, and she actually managed to go back to human form temporarily after. I don't know. That's a whole weird thing.
It was kind of. I don't know if that's because she was like defeated, because that's what Miklon did too.
Oh,
once
that's
he defeated
true.
Him.
He was dead, but yeah. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Apparently, crest stones just demonic beasts. It's a real wacky thing.
Yeah.
But after this, Marianne kind of gets like, you know what? Yeah, I don't feel like I am cursed anymore. I'm reasonably confident that I do not turn into a demonic beast at night and eat people. Reasonably confident. I mathematical probability. I mean, you know how that works. Linhart's all like, yeah, that's how it works. Mathematical probability. You can't disprove it completely. No. But that's not the only person with weird crest issues in this world or in this alliance.
No.
You got Lysithea, and I do like that you could just like when we were playing through, we just looked at her character sheet, and she has 2 crests.
Like, how the heck did that happen?
Yeah, she has one crest that comes from her family and one from oh god,
I think it was Gloucester.
Gloucester, yeah. Like, okay, so using reasoning skills because we're smart people, we're like, okay, let's just pair her with Hanneman and or Linhart, and both of them immediately like, hey, tell me about your crests. And she doesn't like it. She does not like that at all. With Black Eagles, you can also pair her with Edelgard, and she will immediately, and both of them will dance around it in the C and in the B. They'll both just come out like, okay, so you got 2 crests too, right? Your hair wasn't always that color, right? But in Golden Deer, the only way you can really do it is Hanneman and Linhart. And you have to get up to like I think B before they really start to get into it.
Doing the meal with Hanneman always cracked me up. He was like stalking Lysithea for her crest.
Oh yeah. So what does this? Do spices do anything for you? Is it? Did spices always intrigue you? Or did it change sometime around the time? Did you always have 2 crests? By the way, yeah, just little weird, awkward things like that. And then she lets loose that, this was not something that happened at birth. It was forced upon her. The same process that was forced upon Edelgard around the same time, actually. Well, it's chronologically, it would make sense that she was like a test subject, but it wasn't. There wasn't much of a delay.
Oh, was it that long ago, you think?
It wasn't. It was around the same time Edelgard was about 10 when it happened to her. So it was around the same. I think it was around the same time because it was
because Lysithea is like 3 years younger or something like that.
Yeah, and Lysithea was subjected to those experiments as a direct kind of a punishment for her house interfering in imperial affairs during the Insurrection of the Seven. And the Insurrection of the Seven is also when Edelgard undergoes the same process or is forced through the same process. So it seems like it was back to back, or at least there wasn't a whole lot of time between them. But anyway, yeah. So Lysithea, she gets a bunch of cool magical powers. Downside is she's not going to live very long. In fact, in most of her ending slides, she dies relatively young unless you pair her with Hanneman, which I think we did.
Yeah, because when she's paired with Hanneman, he like finds a way to remove one of the crests. They like live on forever, and she becomes like a crestologist herself.
Yeah, she like becomes the golden child who takes up his mantle. I think that was our ending with him or her, him and her. All right, let's see. But then there's also people without crests. A lot of them. You got Leonie. She doesn't have a crest. She has Geralt.
Your little sister that's not really your little sister.
Yeah, you got a lot of weird siblings around because your dad's been around for a long time. Like, there's a 50-year-old knight who does dad jokes who is apparently kind of technically your brother in the same sense. Yes. And you've also got Leonie. It's a messed up family. Yeah, Geralt.
I want to know where you were whenever your dad was like teaching Leonie everything she knows.
Yeah, because they even remark on that in the supports. Like, maybe he left you with a relative. No, he definitely didn't. He could, like, Byleth being Byleth, he could have just left you in a field and said, "Don't move."
Yeah, you'd just be a blank, like a scarecrow out in the field.
I'm going to put you in a bush, and you'll have very high avoidance. I need you to stay here and practice waiting out. It'll come in handy on maddening. And that's just what he does for like 5 years, and then he comes back and gets you. I don't know. But, yeah, Leonie, she doesn't have a crest. She doesn't have a noble backing. The village pooled their resources together to send her to Garreg Mach so she can be a person of some importance in society.
Mm-hmm.
But she also has, the textbook fees. She has to pay the nobles to get the recommendation letters. I like she has one very on the nose comment, like, commoners have to go into debt to get an education in this country. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's like, Leone, don't look at the camera. Don't look at the camera. Linhart's over there. But yeah, that's actually that line comes up in the paralogue with Linhart, where Linhart shows up and he says, you don't have a crest, right? But there's a relic weapon you can use without a crest. And then he falls asleep. Then she wakes him up. Oh yeah, it's in Lake Tutates. Then he falls back asleep. Then she wakes him up. Okay, you want me to take you there? So he takes you there. On Black Eagles, you can do this, but he will specifically say this is a sacred place. I don't think Hubert or Edelgard would like to be here. So you can't take those two along with you to this mission, which can be a problem because they're generally your beefiest units. But on Golden Deer, it's not so much of a problem. We took Flane there. I wish we had brought Sedith, but I imagine it would have been the same thing.
I'm sure it would, yeah.
But there is a giant turtle who just kind of hangs out in the middle of this lake with a bunch of ghosts hanging around him, and he's just chilling. He's like, oh, you're here for the bow, or you want me to grant you a wish, you'll have to fight me. Okay, I'm not moving. I am the immovable one.
Is that his actual name?
Yeah, he's the immovable one. And he like, oh, Flane, it's good to see. Oh, Sethleen, it's good to see you after all these years. Shut up, Uncle. It's not the time. They're not supposed to know that. Everyone, yeah, we know that. We know your birthday. Come on, you're terrible at this, Flane. But you beat the giant turtle, and he's like, okay, here's a bow. Use it well, little girl. You're pretty cool. Then she gives it to you. Like, I don't think I'm worthy. And then Lionheart's like, she's totally worthy. She earned that.
Then we just give it right back to her.
Yeah. Actually, in our run, I think we gave it to Berndetta because we recruited her, and Ignatz had disappointed us.
Oh, he was such a disappointment.
Yeah. Let's just say he's good. You should stick to painting for as far as his stats went. But there is an interesting conversation with Linhart after the fact where he says, so was that really Saint Endek? I guess you could call it a saintly beast. He's been around since those times. He very well could be Saint Endek. He is.
Yeah.
It's just Saint Endek. Apparently after the war with Nemesis, Flane and Sethleen remained human and kept doing things. Like, they went into hiding. Saros became Rhea.
I think Sethleen was so injured that she was sleeping the whole time.
Yeah, okay. That's what it was. Like, her and Sedith are, I'm just going to go by their names that they go by, but apparently Macwheel and Endek just ran off and found places they like to be and assumed forms that no one would want to mess with. Because there's another paralogue where you meet Macwheel. They dance around it a little bit, but it's Macwheel. It's Claude's, actually. He goes out to the Sring region, and there is a dragon just hanging out. And it's like, I hate humans. I don't want to involve myself in your petty disputes. Leave me alone. If you bring Sedith, I think, you bring Sedith there. He was like, Saros needs our help. She's been kidnapped by the Empire. I don't care. Leave. And it's good. If he I think he even says you have the stink of Sothis on you.
Oh, damn.
When he talks to you, there's interesting interplay that's never really explored. And when Claude gets back to the monastery with his treasure after the dragon falls asleep, you don't actually kill it. He just falls asleep and it's like, I'm not dealing with you anymore. I'm going to sleep. And Claude's like, was that really? No, it couldn't be. Man, I hope Rhea will answer this when she comes back. Yeah,
she doesn't.
You can hope, Claude. But yeah, and Leone, she's really competitive. She always has to be better than you. And then she kind of reveals, okay, maybe I'm not. I don't remember what happens. I can't remember what ending we got with her.
I feel like she just became like knight and went back to her hometown or something.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think in one of my endings, she and Felix got together and became the ultimate mercenary force.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
But then, like, the world got peaceful and they weren't needed, so they became street performers. That's good. That's a good ending. But she's far from the only one without a crest. There's also Ignatz. It really shows with him.
Yeah.
He has
great painter though.
He's a great painter. And apparently you can make him into a decent healer, which will help a little bit on the Reunion at Dawn mission.
Oh.
Like, he learns some good healing spells, so if he's not shaping up strength-wise, which apparently it's very rare that he does, you can find some utility for him that way, and that way he's useful on that one mission. But he is a very friendly guy, though.
Yeah, super nice.
Yeah, he's actually got a long history with Raphael.
Yeah, that story is crazy, actually.
Yeah, and Raphael is just like the best friend. Like, Ignatz is just certain they're not friends anymore because Ignatz's parents, for some reason, were not available for a job, and Raphael's parents took it up.
Yeah, they were both merchants.
Yeah, from merchant families. They weren't as poor as Leone, but they're not nobles. And Raphael's parents were killed, and this basically ruined the family because Raphael's not exactly a numbers guy.
No.
He says as much. I realized I couldn't keep up the family business. My little sis needs someone to support her, so I pulled all my resources into becoming a knight. And he doesn't care about the hardship, and he doesn't blame Ignatz for it at all. He doesn't ask for anything. He just wants to be a friend.
That was also a sticking point with Lorenz, too. He was part of that story.
Yeah, and Raphael does not blame him at all.
No.
Like, when you take that paralogue where it's like, Lorenz's dad is 100% murdering merchants to manipulate affairs within the Alliance, Raphael could not care less. That's his dad, not him. He's our friend. Doesn't matter. And then, like Raphael walks away to beef up and train and eat, and you, like, hang out with Ignatz. Like, he's a good guy. That's a good man. We ended up marrying him.
Oh, yeah. You had to do that.
But then, of course, you do have plenty of people with crests who are there for obvious reasons. Like, oh god, what was Lorenz's? Lorenz Helm and Gloucester.
Yes,
I love that character. Seems like he should be so hateable, and he is.
He's so pretentious at the beginning. Like, he's better than everybody.
Like, every support you have with him is an HR complaint.
Yes, I forgot all about that.
I've been getting complaints. Impossible! This is a conspiracy against me.
How could they not like my advances?
I love the supports with Sylvain, where
yes,
they the most catastrophic wingman compilation.
They're like anti-wingmen.
Yeah, I'll show you. I can get 5 chicks right now, and they all strike out terribly. Lorenz has really good supports with Ferdinand. They're completely platonic. It's just 2 bros bonding over tea and nobility.
Oh, we're so much better than everyone else.
Yeah, that's just what they do. They just sit down and have tea, and they're very pretentious, but they're very friendly. And, like, there's no hostility. It's just 100% sincere douchebaggery. But yeah, Lorenz does grow. Like in part 2, he's like, okay, yeah, you see, there's been a notable lack of women complaining to me. Are you okay? Do you need to see a doctor? No, it's busy. I'm busy right now. It wouldn't be proper for me to court. Okay, Lorenz, you do you. But I do like his shtick that he actually 100% believes in the nobility system.
Yeah, he thinks it's their job to take care of all the common people.
Like, he doesn't see it as... He actually buys into the belief. Like, he doesn't see his dad for what he is.
Yeah, he's not like exploiting the populace. He's like trying to do what's best for everybody.
Yeah.
Even though he's a pretentious asshole.
He is. He gets a better haircut in part 2.
They all get better haircuts.
Yeah.
God, Ignatz is so bad.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like that Lorenz does kind of grow as a person, and he can marry Dorothea. I can't remember who he winds up with.
I mean, Marianne's like the obvious choice.
Yeah, but I think we did. I think we benched Lorenz
Yeah, I think we did.
because we didn't really build him right. He really wants to be a dark mage, and we really tried to get him to be something else. But let's see. Let's see if we could. Hilda.
Oh yeah,
She has
can't
a
forget
crest.
about Hilda.
She has a crest, and she has pink hair. Doesn't really seem to have. She unlike most people with interesting hair colors and crests, though, she doesn't have a whole lot. Like we didn't look at Hilda. We got to get her with this guy who knows about the deep dark secrets of the world, because it's just Hilda.
Yeah, there are no secrets. It's
Like she throws
unless the only secret there could be is if her brother's not real.
That's a good point.
They do a very obvious thing of keeping him out of the game.
He's always mentioned.
Supposedly he's some great general defeating the
the
Almirans.
greatest of generals, but he's making her work.
Yeah. And for some reason he's always sick when you come to town.
Yeah. I remember Hilda being a standout character for me just because of her personality in the combat system, where like I'm still a delicate rose, after she has cleaved a knight in half.
Yes.
Or she does the I have an idea, and her idea is just knights moving forward. But just like the axe girls in this game are really on point.
Oh yeah.
I mean, admittedly, it's just Hilda and Edelgard for the most part, but Petra does well with axes too. But Hilda just being that character who hates working, but is also the most fierce unit you have is.
It's not even that she hates working. She's just gonna like get someone else to do it if she can.
She puts all of her. She puts a lot of work in not working.
Yeah.
She's very good at manipulating.
Even the first like support with Marianne, where she like leaves Marianne to clean up the library,
Yeah.
and then she comes back and it's like worse than when she started.
Yeah.
And so Hilda like redoes it all.
And God, there was at least one character who completely outmaneuvers Hilda, but I can't remember how. God, it wasn't Lorenz. Because Lorenz is always 100% happy to help Hilda.
Yeah.
Because he's chivalrous like that. But there's one character who manages to. They develop an almost codependent relationship, but I completely forget who it was.
Was that Bernadette?
I don't know. I don't think Bernadette has supports with. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That's
either.
killing me. Because there was one like, oh wow, they're playing off each other really well, and I completely forgot who it was. Anyway, Hilda is an axe girl, and she gets a cool relic axe.
Yeah.
From her brother. There is another character that you do wrangle into your little group of misfits, and that's Cyril. And there is some interplay with Hilda because her house, Goneril, is right on the border with Almira. So their job is basically to keep the Almirans out of Foldland, and the Almirans are always trying to get in, but quote-unquote trying, because there's that paralog mission of Hilda's where Cyril shows up and offers to help. And Hilda is a little bit... Well, in her supports with Cyril, she's a little bit racist. But she's not malicious about it. She's clearly just saying things that she's heard in her house. Like, Cyril, I can't help but be surprised at how clean and fastidious and hardworking you are, given that Almirans are a bunch of lazy good-for-nothings who just want to invade and kill us all. Yeah, Hilda, yeah, that's... But she does grow, and she doesn't hate Cyril. She lets Cyril come along to help with repel the Almiran invasion, which her brother could not be there for.
Yeah, that was the one he was sick from.
Yeah,
right?
he's sick. He couldn't. He wasn't feeling it that day.
What was who was the leader of the Almirans? Was it Nader?
I don't think Nader was in that mission. I think it was just some random dudes.
Okay.
But Cyril, after that mission, will say, this wasn't actually an invasion. Every now and again they throw themselves at you just to prove themselves,
just for honor. And
then after that, they'll have a big party and a banquet. And Cyril says, "I really hate them for that because of all the orphans it makes, and they don't have any system in place, but at the same time those parties were pretty rad." It's like one of the only times you get to see Cyril saying something other than Lady Reyes, so I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I mean, I like to rag on Cyril, but he does have a character hidden away in there. It just rarely comes out because he's always looking for Rhea. Speaking of always looking for Reyes, Seteth will join your crew in this route. And he's a very good character. I really love his character. He's old, obviously St. Keyhole. Obviously father to Flane rather than brother. He's another one of those guys who likes to fish but doesn't like to catch fish. He just likes to be near an ocean with something in his hand to keep him busy.
Mostly because Flane likes fish so much.
Yeah. I love when Flane comes back and he's so happy that she says, I could really do with fish, and he buys out every Long John Silver's in the country and organizes that fishing tournament.
And then when they don't have the right fish, he sends everybody in the monastery to fish.
Yeah. And then and then Raphael has that comment like, I really love fish, Professor, but I've eaten so much of it, I think I've lost the taste for it forever. Time heals all wounds. Oh, thank you. He also Bernadetta does that thing where she sneaks up on people and refuses to speak out of because she freezes up rather than talks, and he kind of talks her through that. He and Hubert are actually really similar in how they approach Bernadetta because they both recognize that they're terrifying to her, and try but fail to act less terrifying. And Hubert and Bernadetta's relationship is in particular really funny because Bernadetta it's like, she recognizes that Hubert is trying, so she's like, maybe if you smiled more. And he doesn't really show it on the screen, but it does, like the Terminator 2 where Arnold Schwarzenegger tries to smile, and
it's just all teeth, and it's not.
It's all teeth, and they're like, okay, that's worse. But it's kind of like the same thing with Seteth. Like, is there any way you could be a little less intimidating? I could try. But they end up bonding over, like, she's really good at drawing, he's really good at writing children's literature, and
I forgot about his children's books.
Yeah, he writes children's books. I don't know if he intended to or that's just the way he writes, but yeah, more power to him. It's a good character trait. The thing with and Seteth does have that obsession with finding Rhea and keeping the family together,
right?
But he's less obnoxious about it in Golden Deer because he's not in charge in Golden Deer. So he's allowed. So that doesn't. My big complaint with Church is that I wanted Seteth to grow into his own with Rhea not in the picture. I wanted Seteth to be a proper leader of the church. Say, okay, how I've had all these questions about the way Rhea was doing things. Here's how I would run the church, but instead of running the church, he just looks for Rhea. And that's my big problem with the church route. In this route, that doesn't come to the fore because Claude is running things. He is an advisor. That seems to be the position he's comfortable in.
Yeah.
But I can't think of any other characters. I think, did we go through them all?
I think we did. I can't think of any we left out.
There's no Pokemon rap for these things, so
we just need to think of primary colors because they were all like Power Rangers.
Power Rangers, yeah. The Reunion at Dawn, yeah. They show up and we were laughing our asses off because there was the Power Rangers showing up. I do appreciate the Reunion at Dawn for this. Like Claude shows up, like, hey, I guess you really were sleeping because that's not your I'm kidding face. And then he goes like, hey, I like that in every other route, like instead of saying these thieves are stealing precious artifacts or blue lions, like Dimitri just needs to kill Claude. Like, hey, there's bandits over there. You want to fight? I bet you need to fight. You need to stretch your legs.
Yeah, we need to work out a little bit. It's been a long time.
It's a hard mission. But after that mission, you're immediately attacked. And Claude's like, well, you got to hand to Edelgard. She doesn't see a hostile military force taking a strategic position and not react.
Yeah.
You got to give her that much. But you repel them, and then I guess you go, like Claude says, okay, I guess we're doing this. But I really like the way he brings together the Knights of Saros and the Alliance, because he recognizes that the Alliance is politically divided.
Right.
Gloucester and Ordelia are kind of pro-imperial, and they're not about to secede from the Alliance outright and fight. They'd rather stay neutral and see who comes out on top. So he's not going to say the Alliance is declaring war on Edelgard. He's going to try to... He makes that Crest of Flames banner.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, this isn't the Alliance going to war against Edelgard. This is the Knights of Saros, and this is a generalized... all-inclusive.
We're the new church following the Crest of Flames.
Yeah. under you.
Yeah.
You're the figurehead. That's really. It's one of the moments where you actually see Claude as a schemer, and it's actually really clever.
Yeah.
It's understated, but it's clever because it works. And he says, "Okay, we need troops, so we have to go to ILL because apparently that's just the perfect rallying point."
Yeah, I guess it's a place that they don't expect to be intercepted.
I mean, that's true.
Even though they are intercepted there.
Yeah, like you don't. I never rally my infantry into a Tiberian field in Command and Conquer because it's deadly, but well, I guess it works. Everyone does it. You go there, and House Row, I believe, is there. That one.
Judith shows up, which is
that
Daphne?
Judith of Daphne, but is she before or after a battle? Because there has to be a battle.
So you first meet her like way back in the first part of the game.
Yeah.
Because Duke Regan gets sick, and that takes Claude away for like a month.
That's right.
He's back for the mission at the end of that month. And then I guess we should go back and say that like the first half of the game is basically Blue Lions, but you get a little bit of different information. Like instead of learning about the donations, the mysterious donations, you learn Claude finds books about relics, and he finds this picture of the Immaculate One, and those are Thomas's books. They weren't in the library before.
Ah, I did not catch that.
And Sedith ends up taking them away from him.
I forgot. Okay, I remember that now. I distinctly remember that. Yeah, that's good. But I think this might be one of the missions I played because ILL, it's one of those situations where you're there for reinforcements and you see forces in the background. Are those the reinforcements? And then you're like, no, it's other people. And Ash was there, and we could not recruit him for some reason.
Yes, he was fighting with, I can't remember the guy we were fighting. It was some noble.
He's a knight, a really tough knight, stubborn, and he serves House Row. I know that.
Okay.
I don't remember his name. But he's always, there's no way to get him on your side. He's always on the other side.
Yeah, you got to beat him. And then I remember Judith coming in from the top right. And
okay.
You kind of had to make sure she didn't die because she's...
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right. But yeah, once you win that battle, you get your forces. Then you go to the Great Bridge of Murden.
Yeah.
Because it's the entryway into Empire territory.
And you kind of need... Did you have to break up the Gloucesters there?
I think Claude has one of his schemes where he sends a force to make it look like he's going to march through Gloucester territory, and that brings all of Gloucester's troops to meet that army, and then he sends another smaller group to attack the bridge.
Yeah, that's what
behind
it was.
him.
So then they were forced to rejoin you.
Yeah, and then once you have the bridge, Gloucester has no reason to keep supporting the Empire. So, and when you take the Great Bridge of Murden, the Empire once again never retreats. All of its generals hold to the very last, including Ferdinand, because we couldn't recruit him. And Dorothea is very broken up about this. She says, we killed Ferdy. He was our friend, and we killed him afterwards. But that's apart from that, like everyone is like, hey, we got the bridge. And now in the church route, this is I really blank on what happens because I know things are happening, but what the big thing is Gronder Field.
Yeah,
the second Battle of Gronder Field, and you actually get to go to it in this time. You don't hear about it happening off screen, and it is very similar to the first Battle of Gronder Field. Speaking of the first Battle of Gronder Field, that giant mock battle, there. Remember when Claude would, if you get Claude and Edelgard to fight directly, he will distract her by saying, "Hey, there's a rat at your feet," and she freaks out.
Oh yeah.
It turns out that this is probably the closest thing to an objectively bad thing that Claude does, even if he doesn't realize it. Edelgard has post-traumatic stress involving rats because of her time in the dungeon.
Oh.
And that, like, if you look at Edelgard's dislikes, it involves chains, rats, and outmoded traditions. Like, okay, there's some hints there.
Wow.
But yeah, Claude had no way of knowing that. But yeah, when Edelgard is scared of rats, it feeds into her background. All of her Edelgard supports involve her waking up screaming in the night, calling for her father, by the way. So,
oh god,
yeah, she's like, she doesn't wear her mental illness on her face, but it's there. Claude doesn't know that though, so it's not his fault. But second battle is a lot more serious anyway.
A cool thing about this battle is that in the first Grinder Field battle, Claude's giving you his schemes, right? He's always got his schemes before the thing, and he tells you, "Oh, this hill in the middle would be a great trap. You can pull them in there, set it all on fire. It'd be an amazing trap." That's exactly what happens in the second one. Only the Flame Emperor is the one that said it.
Yeah, and the placeholder on the stronghold of that is Bernadetta, but we had recruited her, so she wasn't on there. And I think the flame trap triggers the minute you set foot on it.
Yeah.
But the fire doesn't actually affect the stronghold tile in the middle. So hypothetically, if you set foot and retreat, you're actually in a bad position because you can no longer just one charge the archer anymore. I think I was the one who actually played that battle. I don't first thing on my mind, okay, Dimitri's here. I had no idea he was alive.
Yeah.
In this route.
They did tell you that he was coming. But he couldn't come across the bridge, so they're like, I don't think he's going to get there. And then he found some other way across.
Yeah. Like, there is a kingdom force coming, but we don't know anything beyond that. Or something like that.
Yeah, and it was ambiguous on whether they would be on your side or on the other side.
Yeah, and they show up, and Dimitri is full insane.
Yeah.
He's punished Snake in this one. So, of course, I think, if I take out Edelgard, maybe the map will end, and we won't have to do this crazy thing, because there's a couple people we didn't recruit from Blue Lions. And I took out Edelgard without having to fight the Blue Lions, but then Dimitri kept coming. Well, I'm sorry, Dimitri didn't keep coming. He kept sending other people to come to me, and it was like, please stop.
Yeah,
and then
just stop. We don't want to kill any of you.
Like Ingrid shows up and like, I will do this for Dimitri, and then Bernadetta like just right between the eyes with a crit, and she dies on the field. The sad music plays. I'm like saying, no, please stop. I'll rewind time. Oh wait, no, that wouldn't change anything. And then Dimitri is like, Ingrid, I'm sorry. And then Mercedes also dies. And then Dimitri gets... you take out Dimitri. Then after the battle, somebody says, yeah, Dimitri kept running after Edelgard, and so, Imperial soldier stabbed him in the back. Because he had no support, and Dedue carried him off.
Yep. And
that's the end of Dimitri. He does not come back as a Force ghost. He does in church.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. I still don't know if he was a church ghost or a ghost in church. I don't know if he survived and just like says, I'm going to go off and fish, or I am a ghost, you must do this, but he doesn't do that. You just like, okay, I guess we're going to Fort Merceus now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big fortress in the way. That's where we gotta go.
The kingdom's no longer an issue. Empire is our main enemy, so I guess it makes sense.
I guess we should mention that since Claude was leaving the Alliance, he had to leave somebody in charge of his lands.
Ah, yes.
And
who did he do that with? Oh, okay.
That was the Almiran guy. But
oh, yeah,
they gave him a different name.
Nadir.
So.
Nadir.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ruined the 2000 election. He did some good things, too, though. Anyway, Claude, he gets away with a lot, considering Nadir isn't really subtle.
No, not at all.
About who he really is.
And you just wonder like how nobody knew who he was, since he was like the general of Elmira. Like,
yeah. Undefeated in 100 battles.
Yeah. The only person who's defeated him was Hilda's brother.
Yeah. And in the run up to Fort Merceus, like, don't worry, I've got a plan. I've got Nadir, reveal yourself. I am actually... rips off non-existent fake mustache. Nadir! Oh my god.
Who would have guessed?
It's the perfect disguise. Like, wait a minute. Shouldn't Goneril have... I think Goneril would raise a stink. Oh no, I schemed it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I dealt with this. I dealt with this.
It was perfect diplomacy. You don't need to know the details, but
I rolled a crit on my diplomacy, and and they're okay with with Almirans coming through the Folden's throat. You'd think that'd be more of an issue, but it's not. So you have a really cool anime cutscenes of the Almirans in action.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're gonna dress up, as Empire soldiers, and we're gonna sneak into the impregnable fortress.
This was a cool difference from the Blue Lions, because the Blue Lions, they just like full on assault, frontal assault.
yeah.
But in the Golden Deer, the schemer has to have a scheme. So they disguise themselves and sneak in.
And Seth does basically the same thing, but he doesn't have Almiron support, and it's just not sold as well in general. But yeah, I like you scheme your way in, and then the Almirans show up with the hammer,
Yeah.
and everything's going well. Everything's going perfectly. It's a real triumphant moment. Almirans and Foldland coming together, take down the Empire and this impregnable fortress. You face down the Death Knight on the ramparts.
Yeah.
And right in the middle, right when you're about to have a climatic showdown, he looks to the sky and says, run.
And then he runs down the wall.
He scales on a sheer cliff on a horse in full plate armor. All the physics, he should be dead. That should not have worked, but he's just that cool. And then he points dramatically to the sky. It's like, dude, look. And apparently that bails everyone in the Alliance out because they managed to evacuate barely. Like that was if Death Knight had not just been pointing like, hey, you should probably leave.
Yeah, everybody would have died. I mean, that was a whole fort destroying nuke.
Yeah. And Claude does ask some questions like, okay, this is a question for later, but we need to figure this out.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
That was not normal. So then you go to Enbar, and with the precept, the pretext of Enbar is Empire can call in reinforcements, but if you take out Edelgard, it'll fall apart.
Yeah,
which makes sense. So Edelgard is choosing to make her stand in Enbar and just rely on reinforcements overwhelming the Alliance. You fight your way through Embar. Flayn and Sedith will remark on different ancient architecture if you get them in range.
I think Dorothea might even talk about the opera.
The opera hall, yeah. And you kill Hubert, and it's the same as just about everyone. Like, I should have disposed of you earlier. And then you fight your way into the throne room and kill Edelgard. And the cutscene that triggers for Golden Deer is identical to the one in Church, but it feels a little bit different. Because in Church, you had a dramatic anime cutscene where you fought Edelgard and you had all that character drama that just kind of just isn't present in the steely-eyed gaze as you execute her, and she's completely broken. But in the Golden Deer route, it kind of plays a little bit differently. It's the same cutscene, but it feels like Edelgard is saying, look, you have to kill me. This war's not going to end. I know I've lost, but if if you want the war and fighting to end, I have to die.
Yeah.
If you keep me alive. She says the same thing basically with Claude. Like, she argues for Claude to die, but if the professor can spare him. And Claude and Edelgard both agree that for the fighting and the Alliance territories to end, he has to leave, which is why he does. But Edelgard basically, I've lost, and you can't keep me around because I know that if there's going to be any chance of peace and a better future, it's going to be with Claude, and Claude needs me gone. You have to kill me. But she's still really sad that she couldn't walk with you, and Byleth apparently just doesn't care and kills her. I really feel like there should have been some emotion in that face. It's really unnerving. But there is some interesting dialogue when you take Claude to attack Edelgard. She will say, my understanding is that our ideals are about 90% overlapped. However, I do not trust you to follow them through.
Yeah, that was the craziest part. Is like they want the exact same thing.
It's like American leftist and European leftist arguing over, like, a European leftist sees Kentucky full of Democrats. Like, why aren't you doing more with that? It seems like you shouldn't have any problems. Well, there's a lot of things you might not recognize as a half British person. There's a lot of context you need. I do not trust you to see this through. It's. I can kind of see it both ways because, Claude even agrees. Yeah, there's a lot about Folden I don't know, but I've got the professor and he's going to keep me.
Right.
Like that. Like with Edelgard, the professor really stabilizes her emotional state and keeps her from going too far deep. And same with Dimitri, and with Claude, it's like you just keep him.
You're just like a tool to get all the church behind him.
Yeah, and you also just give him a purpose. He sticks a reason to stick around and actually do things, get off his ass, and actually follow through on something. But yeah. Immediately after this, you have that brief celebration, very brief celebration in Embar, where it looks like you've won. And then Hubert has a message. Judith Daphne shows up with a message from Hubert.
Yeah, did he just like leave a note in his room or something? So like, if I'm dead, send whoever killed me.
A general gives it to her. An Imperial general who surrendered gives it to her.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it says, I managed to figure out using like Fort Mercius gave me the information I needed to figure out where those that slither are. And that's why they didn't use this literally all the time, because they couldn't defend their base if they were found out. And, look, and it's the same for Church. Look, I don't believe that Edelgard's going to lose, but I have to plan for in case she does. You have to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
And Claude is very respectful of Hubert. And Hubert is the same with Claude. After you take Claude down, Hubert expresses great respect for Claude. Game recognizes game as far as schemes go. But Claude also says, like, he could have told me this before we fought. Like I
could have like worked together.
Look, there's respect and then there's trust, and you are the schemer. But then you let Rhea out of the closet, and she's like, and Claude, I love Claude in this so much. Rhea is being evasive as usual, and he's yelling at her, "No, not right now. I need to know who these people Hubert are talking." Is Hubert lying? Hubert looks like a liar, but I don't think he's lying. Okay, yeah, there was an ancient group of humans that have been manipulating affairs throughout all of... Why isn't the...
Yeah, there's like a huge lore dump on you right here.
Yeah. Have you not... Why did this... You could have dealt with this at any time in Thousand... I didn't think it was relevant.
They were underground. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Tomas was emptying your toilets for 20 years. He can bring down fantasy nukes. Oh, they can't nuke Garreg Mach Monastery. There's an anti-nuke protection thing.
Yeah, we thought of that.
Yeah. Well, remember ILL? They didn't actually target ILL. They targeted the monastery, and then the nuke went off and hit ILL instead. So it's fine. Well, Garreg Mach is fine anyway. That's what I care about. Like, maybe the next one takes out Ferdiad or Embar, but Garreg Mach will be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Okay, so apparently they've got a bunker over here. Let's just go kill them. And Rhea, you're coming too.
First, though, didn't we fight all of the 10 heroes?
I think that is the last mission.
I thought the Shambhala was the last one.
No, Shambhala happens, and then... Because you go to Shambhala, and it's just Dubstep and Tron.
Yeah.
And then you take out Thalos, and he has one really crazy move where he does area of effect damage on everyone and reduces them all to 1 health.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But then you kill him anyway. And he calls down nukes on his own position and in desperation to try to kill you. And Rhea intercepts most of them, but she takes some hits in the process. She's badly wounded. And as you're leaving, you see a secret container with a red light.
Oh, yeah, that's how
that glows green. And then fists rip out and unlock the thing. And that's like really cool, but also this is the last mission. So all that, like, there's no build, like, that's great build up, but we don't have any time to digest it. It's building up to something really cool though. I really like it. It's just there's a pacing concern, but you go back and Church Route, this is the part where Rhea is so spread thin from her captivity and nuke injuries that she goes crazy. For some reason, she just doesn't in this run. She just retires to the monastery, and then you get like a messenger saying that Hilda's hypothetical brother has been defeated in battle. by none other than King Nemesis, who has been brought back from the dead with the 10 elites. And that's some big news.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it over dinner for the next 4 weeks. We got some pretty funny supports that like we were experimenting to see who has supports with each other. So there were some C supports showing up with an unstoppable demon zombie army bearing down on Garrick Mach. Meanwhile, Cyril is really getting to know Ignatz.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you do finally get to that mission, and it's the last remnant, like the last remnants of the Agarthans are there. Mm-hmm. Like they've left their bunker. They're following Nemesis. Apparently, they brought him back from the dead, or just
they don't really explain
they
how
really
they're
don't.
still alive, or if they're like new homunculi that they put Crest into or something.
Like
I don't know.
Nemesis is the only one who seems to have a personality
because they all have like the same
Yes.
weapons that are passed down through all of the houses.
Yeah.
But they're Omega
copies.
weapons or something like.
Yeah,
sort of
they're
copies.
like dark. And if we actually did go like in this battle, they're all 10 elites. Maurice isn't there, just the 10 elites,
Mm-hmm.
and Nemesis are there. And this swamp, you fight them. That crazy operatic theme shows up,
Oh yeah.
and I remember we specifically got Claude to face down Regan.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't actually give us anything cool.
Nothing.
Like I thought
It
would.
did. There was text. Like Claude says, "Hey, can you talk?"
Yeah.
And he doesn't. Like Regan doesn't. I almost he had a character portrait and it said ellipsis. So I don't know if he was just like being an asshole or if he was just a zombie.
Like not actually able to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, but like Claude just jumps to the conclusion that he can't. And given what happens in a bit, that might, I don't know. This is where I really think they should have built this up. Like have another mission where you explore exactly what's happening with the zombie army.
That would have been nice. Yeah.
Like maybe like have House Goneril ask for help again, and then like fight a completely new enemy type, maybe led by one of the elites, and that would at least like set you up. What the hell's that guy looks a lot like this guy from history books.
That would have been really cool.
Like but you have to have Shambhala because Golden Deer has to be the perfect one where everything comes together. Even though, but yeah, it's just a pacing issue. I know this is the longest route, but they just throw so much at you. It just feels really weird, like a Smash.
It's like they
tournament.
didn't have the funding to build the new maps to do all the story stuff.
Yeah.
So like they were forced to reuse story elements from the other ones.
Yeah, and this map is unique. The soundtrack is unique. The boss is unique. Nemesis is a really cool boss.
Yeah.
He's like Rhea is challenging because she's got 3 health bars, and she's got the traditional monster armor you had to fight your way through, and she's a really heavy hitter. Nemesis is hard because he's invincible when he has the elite standing.
Yeah, you got to defeat everybody else.
And even when he does that, he still has a Sword of Creator, and he can one hit just about anyone, and he's just tough as balls. But when you do finally beat him, it goes to that cut scene, and he is yelling at you for using the power of friendship against him, was just cheating. Like, fight me 1-on-1, honorably. And you eventually, like Claude does that one of his schemes where he shoots an arrow straight up, charges.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, like he charges. What's he gonna do? He's like he has a bow and arrow. Is he gonna do like a Legolas thing where it becomes a melee weapon? But like he gets decked. Like Nemesis just decks him and he flies off, and then he does like just his planned face, and the arrow comes back down from space and hits him in the arm right as you're about to hit him.
Yeah,
and then like soul light erupts from the wound in his chest, and all of the zombie army dissolves into dust. And then Claude's master plan of ending racism by opening the borders. And everything works out fine. You know, more power to him. He managed to pull it off.
yeah, great.
I assume there would have been some reaction there. Like there is one like conversation, like, yeah, my dream's a little idealistic. Yeah, there's gonna be some reactionary people. Some people are gonna object. Yeah, but Teach, you can take care of
Yeah,
that.
I'll just
Teach,
go back to
Teach,
Elmira.
I'm more of an ideas guy. And in our case, he married Petra and became king of a vassal state.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Well, not really a vassal state. She becomes independent in that. She actually becomes independent in Edelgard's run, too. She's like, yeah, you can be independent. I don't care. Just, be our intermediary with Dagda. That's fine. Like, Edelgard, like, forms a treaty with the Almirans. Like, the Almirans are all right. They don't believe in the goddess, which means they're rational. That's also a little naive, Edelgard, but you know what? Good on you. But it's just like a new one world order of everyone just living happily with you at the helm, and Claude and Petra are just happy as balls.
Yeah.
Everything's great, and Nemesis is finally defeated. The thing is, Nemesis is never really elaborated on.
No,
we don't learn a whole lot about him, and he's a really cool character.
It really makes me want him to have a direct sequel to this game where those who slither have set up a power structure in Dagda.
Yeah.
And then you like go to war with Dagda over, like they try to invade or something.
Yeah. There's some interesting things because Nemesis is played up as an absolute villain throughout the entire game. Just about everyone says, yeah, Nemesis is a bad guy. But the church doctrine calls him the king of liberation.
Yeah.
And the implication is they call him that because you have to appease the people who followed him to absorb them into your power structure, and they loved him for some reason.
It is interesting that they like their story they tell is like when he destroyed all the dragons, that was like him driving evil from the land.
Yeah. The evil gods is the specific word the church uses.
Yeah.
But then he got bad. It was after that things like, yeah.
Then the sword made him evil.
Yeah.
The sword,
Yeah. Like the goddess, the goddess gave him the sword, and he did good things. We will admit he did good things, popular things. But then he went bad, and the Adrestian Empire had to take him down. But, the good people who followed him, they're still good people. They can keep their shit and have kids. Except for Maurice, who had to be put down.
We'll just pretend he doesn't exist.
Yeah. In fact, we're not even going to hunt him down. We're just going to let him hang out in the woods as a werewolf. I'm sure that'll be fine. God damn it, Rhea. Wow. I completely forgot. That's... that or lynch mobs just aren't that good in this universe.
I mean, she really likes lynching too, though.
She's very good at it. Like, wait a minute. I have very relevant information on who my employers actually are. Don't care. Western Church, no, I'm not with them. I'm with... Don't care. Oh, there is one paralogue we did not get talk about. Ferdinand, if you have recruited him, has a paralogue with Lysithea where his father breaks out of prison in Embar. I guess he's expecting some daring escape where he's going to rally the populace against that vile usurper who stole his power, but it doesn't work. He's like on the road, and a bunch of bandits surround him, and like, oh my god, that's the prime minister. Get him! Fuck you! He taxed us to shit and heavy labor, and that there's a big riot, and Lysithea fills in, like, my house got dragged into a bunch of crazy politics because the Harem territory tried to secede after Ionius tried to consolidate power, and then after Ionius lost his power, those that Slither and their alliance with the Seven, Insurrection of the Seven, they retook the Harem territory and gave it to Arundel.
Okay.
Or not Arundel. They gave it to Duke Eir, and then after Edelgard repositions the power structure of the empire so that Arundel has to deal directly with her as an almost equal, Arundel winds up taking control away from Eir and Harem. And it's kind of awkward the way this plays out because Ferdinand finds out that his dad was just straight up killed. There was a very successful lynch mob. They were not taking prisoners. They wanted Eir dead. And like, why did they want my dad dead? And then Lysithea says, well, under Duke Eir's administration, he lowered taxes on the nobles, raised them on the commoners, and subjected them all to heavy labor and other punishments. Like, okay, it does sound like my dad. I could see how they might be mad. Oh, but you don't feel too bad. Like, your dad wasn't a your dad wasn't Hitler. Arundel was worse. You know what? You're right. My dad was a hero. But yeah, Edelgard actually has some interesting input when because her idea of the way things are comes specifically from the imperial history. And the imperial history begins with Wilhelm, who was the human counterpart to Nemesis.
Right.
He wasn't strong enough to actually defeat Nemesis, but he's the guy who actually uses his connections in what amounted to the human powers at the time to start the Adrestian Empire and help Saros get her revenge. And when he relates this history, at least the history that's filtered down to Edelgard, she considers Nemesis and Saros to be having a dispute.
Okay.
This is pure politics. The war was not a crusade. This is just people fighting the way they always have fought. Wilhelm had ambitions that clashed with Nemesis, but she still sees Nemesis as a king, a worthy enemy, not someone she would follow, but there's no need to call him the literal devil. And it we don't really follow up on that, though. Basically, we just have the official church history saying this guy was good. He did laudable things. He was a hero who fell from grace. And with Edelgard, this was a king, a great king of humanity that my ancestor overthrew. But in the process of overthrowing him, he put someone else in charge that I have to now deal with. And it's just, I'd really like to have a little bit more. I wish Nemesis had broken out earlier.
Yeah, I do too.
I wanted more. I wanted like
they did give us that he was the one who killed all the dragons.
Yes,
and that Saros is the only dragon left.
Yeah, except for Cethline and Flane,
but they're not actually. They're like there's something different.
They're
about
children
them.
of the goddess, but at the same time, they're not. They can't take dragon form anymore. I think is because they were too badly wounded.
Maybe that's what it is.
But they do insist on calling Rhea family, and you, by extension, because of your situation. But the thing is, like, Dimitri and, like, all the other roots have really good final bosses because they're very personally... that you relate to them personally. Dimitri and Edelgard, very classic. Very tight. You know each other. You know both of them pretty well. Crimson Flower... You know Rhea pretty well. You've been with her the whole part. In fact, the only reason you're fighting her is because you made a conscious decision to defy her.
Right.
And that's actually really big for Byleth. Edelgard, it's more of this is a deal my ancestor made that I have to now deal with. There's a very personal connection there. Claude doesn't have a personal connection to Nemesis.
Yeah.
No one does.
He doesn't really have a personal connection to anybody.
That's true. He has one with Nadir and Judith because they're both mentors to him. He has them with his fellow students. He's a very fun guy, but I very much sympathize with Edelgard when she says, "I don't trust you to not fuck off."
Did we ever explain how mysterious Claude was and his showing up all of a sudden?
Yeah, because Lorenz was pretty sure he was going to be in charge.
Yeah.
He was very...
Duke Regan's getting old. He doesn't have an heir. His oldest son died.
And it looks... Yeah, his son died, quote unquote. Yeah. It's pretty up because Lorenz's dad apparently killed him at the same thing it was the same event that killed Raphael's parents.
Was that the same thing?
Yeah, like they were meeting with a noble that I think was Regan's heir.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, apparently Claude's mom was Regan.
Yeah.
She fell in love with...
Claude is Obama.
He fell in love with the Almiran. They ran away together, yeah.
He's a binational person, but he has citizenship through his mother.
Yeah.
And he's idealistic, but not really willing to go the extra mile when the situation calls for it. Unless he has someone forcing him to. Anyway. Yeah, basically, my only real complaint with Golden Deer is Nemesis is really cool. We only get to see him as an enemy, and he only gets a few speaking lines.
Yeah. Yeah, if they would have made Nemesis a real character, it would have been awesome.
Yeah, I understand it would you'd have to rewrite the entire part 2 for it. But even if it meant like a chopped up smaller small route like Crimson Flower is at least pretty memorable in how different it is.
Yeah.
That I don't mind it being short and a little jumbled and using PowerPoint presentations in lieu of cutscenes. But now as for racism, that he doesn't have like outright trauma, but I could definitely buy that he is an outsider who's always informed by that experience. He always says, never count out an outsider is his thing. He's always making up for it by being extra charismatic.
And that kind of makes sense with how he's kind of standoffish with people.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, we're not really the same people.
Yeah. We never really got much cool things with this course with Cyril, other than like, hey.
I totally thought he was going to be Claude's brother or something.
I know it would have been contrived, but it would have given Cyril a character.
Yeah.
Racism actually doesn't really crop up a whole lot in this game. Like Hilda does, she inherits it from her family. It's really cool that Claude manages to convince Goneril, of all people, to let the Elmirans in.
Yeah,
I'll give him
true.
that. That's good. I think Ingrid has some things with the Dusker.
Maybe a little bit. There was a little bit with the Brigid people. With Petra being different.
Oh yeah, she's specifically called a commoner.
Yeah.
In her, at least by society at large. Like there's no one actually like shows up and looks down on her within the Black Eagle's house. Among her fellow students, she's an equal, but there's definitely societal racism, systemic racism that she's chafing under, and a lot of other people are sympathizing with her for her. Like even Hubert is just really sympathizing with her situation and praising her in the only way he knows how, by comparing her in favorable terms to Edelgard, but not quite. Like you're almost as good as Edelgard, but if you went to war with Edelgard, she'd win.
Yeah.
Which is about the highest praise you're going to get from him. But like thematically, it's really happy. Golden Deer is a very happy ending.
Yeah. You kind of tie together all the loose strings. You figure out who those who slither are.
Yeah,
you
those
take
who slither,
care of them.
Done. It's like a checklist of everything you.
You save Lady Saros.
Rhea. I guess she dies off screen unless she marries.
I couldn't remember if she died or she just
ran
retires
off. Or I don't know. The same thing happens in every route. Rhea just is not in the business of being Archbishop anymore,
right.
And mysteriously everything gets better immediately.
For good reason. Yeah.
Immediately after everything gets better, but it kind of feels like Golden Deer. You're just checking a list of here's things we had in the game that have to be dealt with. Let's just let these people be the Scooby-Doo mystery van.
Yes.
Figure everything out. And then fix everything.
And that really fits with Claude's character because he's all about just finding out secrets.
He's always looking into things, and he's always angry that he can't just he can't walk up and talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
He can't just ask them outright. Edelgard doesn't know everything. She knows enough to work with, and she's not really interested. Like once you meet her, it's too late for her to ask questions.
Right.
She's on her plans are in motion with her. And Dimitri, he's just not in the headspace to be asking questions. Golden Deer, I know a lot of people have it as their favorite house, and it's a very fun house. I'm glad we started with it.
Yeah, it was great to start with. Actually, I was gonna say, like, if you were gonna just do one run, which one would you pick?
That's a good question. The thing is, like, to appreciate Crimson Flower, you have to overlook a lot. And you have to understand, and like you have to have the perspective of the other runs to understand why it's different and what themes it's like. Crimson Flower is more of a thematic run. It's like a thematic commentary on the game.
Okay,
but you really can't appreciate it very much if you just play it and leave it at that. Blue Lions is really self-contained,
mm-hmm.
So if you're just,
but the thing about Blue Lions, like it might be my favorite run. I haven't seen the Crimson one, but like self-contained, like the first part being a part of, like, pertaining to your
every
house.
part of the first part is a direct,
and then everything just like is about your house, about that story.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of it, it just leaves all those who slither like as a huge open question, like something that built up the first half of the game. So like I feel like you can't just play that run. You
Yeah.
have to do another one.
You know that you killed some of them, but not all of them.
And that's why I kind of think like the Yellow House, if you're going to do just one run, that's probably the one to do.
Yeah. It leaves a lot of questions unanswered. It's not really the most thematically tight,
Yeah.
but it's fun and it gets the point across. I'm willing. I mean, it's not the most ambitious statement, but it's a good game.
Yeah.
And that's a good route. It's a good route. Golden Deer is a good route. And you know what? Yeah, that's perfectly viable to just play Golden Deer and stop. I wouldn't. Presumably you bought this game or rented it.
Yeah. You should play more than one run.
If
to
you
be honest.
have the time for multiple routes, you should. Otherwise, why are you buying games? Oh, I'm sorry. That's just the way I'm from a different time. Games were precious commodities. Now they're everywhere. Anyway, there's this thing Adam has trained Bo to do very well, where we sign off like we are Donaram. Is that good enough for you?
Oh yeah, that's good.
We were Donaram. There's something you're supposed to smash. Bros. Smash bros.
Yes, smash
those bros.
We're gonna do that right after this.
Yeah, it sounds good. Oh God, I had a joke. Side B neutral that subscribe button. Smash those bros. Pound the dues if that's what the kids are into. Hello, fellow kids. Hi, I'm a 13-year-old girl with green hair. My uniform is very different. I have the same birthday as a saint. I'm definitely not 1,000 years old.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.